Hello, I'm Fire Chief Tom Forward, and welcome to this edition of On Scene with Tampa Fire Rescue. Today we're going to take an inside look at the very important work done by the inspectors in the Fire Marshal's office. The men and women work behind the scenes to make sure the buildings we all use and visit every day are safe. They are responsible for all kinds of buildings, large and small, any place where people may work or gather. By assuring these buildings meet or exceed the National Fire Safety Codes, they hope to prevent fires and other emergencies from occurring. Their work is also aimed towards assuring if a fire should start, those people inside the building will quickly know about it and be able to get out safely. To learn more, let's join Captain Wade as he goes along on a fire safety inspection.
Thanks, Chief. We've caught up with Inspector Jay Trina. He's down here in Ybor City, checking out one of the nightclubs down here. Jay, when you walk into this nightclub, and as we come through this front door, what is some of the importance about this hardware on the door?
Well, when we come and look at the hardware on this door, first we look and see what the occupant load is, the max for patrons that this particular nightclub can hold. And this one in particular is 720. So over 100 doors must have panic hardware. So we look and see if it has panic hardware. There should be no additional locks on here, and when you press it, it typically should open. The reason why they call it panic hardware is because in case of emergency, they can come and simply just lean against the door and it would open. So there's no additional locks, no turning, no knobs, just push and go.
Jay, another thing that most people don't see when they go to any business in our community is the fire alarm. Now, this is the business end of the fire alarm. Tell us a little bit about it. What do you look for when you're looking at this fire alarm?
Well, here we got the fire alarm system. What we look for is the tag. It must be tested and inspected within 1 year. After that, we will look at the paperwork and see if there's any deficiencies. And if there are any deficiencies, what we do is require to take care of them because the fire alarm system must be up and running in normal operation. This nightclub here that we're at, they have a load of over 300. So any existing nightclubs with over 300, this is a requirement. This is supposed to be notification for the nightclub. And it's very important that we make sure that this is up and running. Nightclubs, you got a lot of patrons here. They're drinking, they're having a good time. They got a DJ playing music. It's loud. So we got to make sure that the notification is going to be, one, here, and two, it's going to be loud enough, and three, they can see the devices.
Jay, in one of these nightclubs or any business where it's very noisy, the alarm goes off. How are people going to hear the alarm over top of a DJ booming the music?
Well, this is one of the things we look at. This is one DJ booth, this particular club here, and we make sure that the shut device is here, installed, and is working properly. We want to make sure that it does turn off the power to this booth when the fire alarm goes off, so they can hear the fire alarm and see the strobes activated. If the lights are on, if the music's rolling, it's going to be very difficult to hear the fire alarm system at the same time.
Jay, another thing that we've noticed in this building, especially because it's a little bit dark in here, are these exit signs are rather prominent. Although I know the exit signs, we see them in all sorts of businesses. What makes this exit sign so important and so unique?
Well, they got to know when they're in the nightclub how to get out and where to go. So we make sure the lights are working, and this one here is a combo, exit light and emergency light. So we'll test this, and what it'll do is it'll dump the power to the battery and see if it's working, and it is working. In the case of a fire or some kind of emergency, if the power goes off, it's going to get dark, and they're not going to know where they're at. They're going to get flustered. These lights would turn on and give them enough light to find their way out to the nearest exit.
Jay, we've moved out here to the club area where the patrons would be having a good time, the music would be blaring, the drinks would be flowing, and notice that there's a lot of curtain type material here. It's kind of for decoration, but you say there's a certain protection factor that needs to be built into this?
Yes, this is actually a very important factor in part of our inspection because this could be a very high hazard. Interior finish is really important for nightclubs, and we make sure that A, they have a certificate that they are flame retardant fabric, or B, if they're not, we make them treat it once a year, and it has to be a UL listed product. That product has been tested and known to work. When we come back for our re-inspection, what we'll do is we'll actually take a piece off and burn it to a test we do per NFPA specs.
Why is this interior finish then so important? Why does it have to be protected? Why are you so concerned about it?
Well, we're so concerned about this because this is a spot where a fire can actually start. Electrical, you can have someone smoke and drop a cigarette, And if it gets on this, fire can spread very easily. And per NFPA, all fabrics, all woods has to be of a flame retardant material or treated per specs of NFPA.
Jay, we noticed that the patrons in this club can activate the fire alarm. That doesn't just have to be a smoke alarm that goes off, but also they have these pull stations. Why are the pull stations so close to the exits?
Well, here we got a point of egress. We had a required exit. Required exits, pull station is supposed to be next to it. What we do is make sure that there's no damage to it, it's visible, and there's nothing block it. We need to make sure that it's easy accessible to pull on their way out.
Jay, one of the things you talked about was how many people they could put into a nightclub like this. Well, it looks like it could hold an awful lot of people. How do you figure that out?
Well, first, any assembly, nightclub, bar, restaurant, if it can hold more than 50 people, we give them an annual assembly permit. It's an occupied load to be open and a max legally by law. So what we do is, for this open area here, we would measure out the square footage, and for an open area standing, we would divide it by 7 square feet per person. We would section off all the areas of the bars. Right here behind us is obviously not standing, so it's done by a different square footage. It would be unfixed seating, 15 square feet per person. Then we would add it all up and see what the total number is. And after that, we have to make sure that they have enough exits to accommodate the occupant load. And then we look at the front entrance. They have to have a certain amount of inches per square per person to accommodate. 50% of the occupant load must be able to lead to that front entrance. So there's a lot of things we look at when we tally up an occupant load for assembly.
One of the ways that a fire inspector helps to keep buildings safe is to review their construction plans before they are even built. Fire inspectors will look at the plans to make sure there are enough emergency exits, safe stairwells, and many other features in the plans. By making sure the structures are built safely to begin with, this makes the job of maintaining the safety features so much easier. Let's go to the fire marshal's office where one of the inspectors is reviewing the plans for a restaurant that is planning to open in Tampa.
Today at the Tampa New Construction Services Building, Fire Inspector Tom Miller is starting his day by reviewing the plans for a new business in our community. We asked Inspector Miller what he is looking for in these plans.
I'm looking at the aspects of life safety and what it's going to take in order to get these people, and in this situation, the diners in this restaurant, the ability to safely exit this building in the event of an emergency. Generally, we're going to determine if this building would require a fire sprinkler system and/or a fire alarm system, which are important when you get into the number of occupants, the number of people that are going to come and visit this location. I base all of my decisions as referenced by the code, which right now is the 2007 Florida Fire Prevention Code, based on the NFPA 1 and 101 2006 edition. That is the National Fire Prevention Association, and it's the national code that dictates the life safety code.
Taking into consideration all the plans he has reviewed over the years, we asked Inspector Miller what are the most common issues that he has to deal with.
The most common issue is the exiting. It's even though it seems like it would be very easy, it's quite complex, especially when you're dealing with a high number of occupants. And there are certain things that have to be met so that the exiting can be code compliant. The distances between exits, the manner in which the doors are facilitated with a certain exit or panic hardware so that they can just push the door and it will open freely. Those are just a number of, or a small number of the issues that we have to make sure are done correctly, because once this plan is stamped and approved, that's it, it goes in the field. Now that's not to say that it won't be caught in the field, because of course if we see something in the field we'll correct it, but it's important that we try to get it right on the first time.
Fire Inspector Miller then went on to explain what happens after the plans are reviewed.
This is the proposed project. Once these plans are approved by all of the disciplines here in the building department, including the fire marshal's office, at that time inspectors will go into the field and make sure that the plans that have been approved are followed during the period of construction. We do approximately 100 to 120 a month. Now, of course, not all the plans that we do are on this level. This is a rather big plan. It's very involved. Some of the plans are on a much smaller scale and are interior build-outs of offices or different smaller venues.
After reviewing the plans, we went with Inspector Miller into the field at a construction site. We asked him to show us some of the safety features that have gone from the plans and into the building.
What we're looking at here is a deck-mounted smoke detector. And what this does, it will detect smoke inside the air conditioning unit, at which time it will shut down the air conditioning unit, thus stopping it from being spread throughout the building, and also set off the fire alarm to let people know that there's smoke in the system and there's potential fire in the building. That way they can start exiting. This is what you're going to see if you ever have the opportunity to see above the ceiling. A network of piping that supplies the sprinkler head. Once the ceiling is in, the temperature, if there were a fire, would rise, would melt the piece of metal there in the sprinkler head and activate the sprinkler. It would then go off, and it wouldn't extinguish the fire because that's not what sprinklers are designed to do. They're designed to keep the fire in check until firefighters can get on the scene and extinguish the fire. These sprinkler heads, when this glass cylinder breaks, the sprinkler is activated and sprays. This sprinkler head in my right hand has been coated with paint and some type of foam. Because of this, it will not work correctly and therefore may not be used in a sprinkler system. It has to be taken down and replaced. This is something that we find quite often in the field, and that's something that we're always on the lookout for. They seem simple, but the importance of an exit sign, it's the very basis of life safety, because this and this alone direct people that aren't aware or familiar with the building where the exit is. And even when the lights are out, this will stay on for 4 hours. They're able to find the exit and exit the building.
To these two men, this is more than just a job. Prior to becoming fire inspectors, both worked as firefighters and experienced firsthand the damage and devastation a fire can quickly cause.
I tell you what, one of the more important aspects that we bring to the table, and when I say we, I mean myself and the other reviewers and inspectors here at New Construction, is that we've actually been in the field. We've seen firsthand how fire reacts, how things can happen in an emergency. And because of that, we bring a different perspective to the table when we're reviewing plans. That's why I think it's important that firefighters are involved in this aspect of plan review.
Being out on the trucks, we understand fire behavior, fire patterns, and how fire reacts. We've been in there fighting the fires when you can't see your hand in front of your face. So we know what it's like to be inside, and we know how fast a fire can get out of control. So we really have a great understanding of what fire can do. So when we come in a situation like this, we want to protect the people, and we want to protect the firefighters out in the street too. So it really gives us a passion about fire safety, because we've been out there fighting the fires, seeing what a tragic it could do. So when we come here, we really want to make sure all aspects are correct and is safe for the patrons and for the firefighters out in the trucks.
If you have a fire or life safety concern with a business in Tampa, please call the Tampa Fire Marshal's office at 813-274-7000 or visit their website at www.tampagov.net/fire and click on the About Us link. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Scene with Tampa Fire Rescue.